Hello, and welcome to Unsheathed with your hosts, Kyell Gold and Cam Hirosaki. We hope that you enjoy the program. Please stick around afterwards. There'll be cake and blowjobs.
Hi everyone, welcome to Unsheathed number 74. I'm one of your co-hosts, the Foxy Kyell Gold.
I am the slippery Cam Hirosaki who has our opening jingle stuck in my head.
And we have here in our discreet mountain bunker location, returning guest, Flain. Welcome.
Yeah, hey guys. I'm sitting in the interrogation chair today. It's I'm enjoying. I'm a little bit elevated, but also just kind of separated from the other two. So
if the bright light in your face is a little too bright, we can turn it up a bit.
Could you turn off the water faucet? It's really getting distracting.
How many lights do you see?
There are 4. There you go. And we start with Star Trek, not Star Wars. What you doing? You're mixing it up on me.
I think KM had his fill of Star Wars earlier today.
Yes.
You enjoyed the back-to-tank joke.
I did. Kyle didn't know what a back-to-tank was. He loses like 10 points of Star Wars street cred.
Gah.
Oh no.
Mainly I knew him because of the Old Republic game of just like, oh, that's the stuff that heals me.
Except in the Old Republic games, they don't use Bacta, they use Colto. Oh, out-nerded.
Oh, what was that? Sorry, I had a phantom snore going on. I just got just amazingly bored by whatever you were saying.
That's all right. I just pull out my owner first print and Splinter of the Mind's Eye.
Hey, I have a first printing of the paperback of Splinter of the Mind's Eye myself.
Yeah,
I picked it up last year in Dallas.
I picked mine up when it came out off the bookshelves.
I was not alive.
So there. Huh. Well, I guess you haven't been a fan as long as I have.
Something happened here, and I'm scared.
Speaking of which, did you hear that Alan Dean Foster has been named the writing guest of honor for Rainforest this year?
I did not hear that.
There you go.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. Good piece of news.
Look at that news. I bring news to the show.
Very cool.
Yeah! Woo! Woo! All right.
Well, we'll look forward to hanging out with him.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to the Rainforest staff about a couple writing panels that we're doing, so...
Oh, yeah, I think I kind of promised them that I would write them a story, didn't I?
Yeah, the deadline's March 15th for their collection.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's the Camp Rainforest anthology.
Frig, okay.
It gives you a period of time between now and then, so...
So, if any of our listeners are thinking about writing in, I don't have the link offhand, but if you go to rainforest.org, that's with 3 R's, but not all in a row, there's a link to the Camp Rainforest anthology, and I believe they say March 15th is their deadline to get the stories in,
okay,
to get them printed. I need to ask them if they would rather have a story for the anthology or a story for their con book this year. But
I kind of like personally promised Gene that I would get him the story, so I guess I'll have to do that.
I think I'm not sure I think I said I would try. I'm not really clear on.
Well, I don't want to make Gene sad.
No, we don't want to make Gene sad. Gene's cool. He's a friend to writers. We like him. Speaking of writing things...
Getting weird bird looks from Flain here.
By the time this post...
I was a little lost. I was just like, got to do something mess with KM.
It will probably be too late to nominate, but, however, hopefully you can still vote. The Ursa Major Awards, of course, we've mentioned before, we've got some eligible stories. I've got Bridges and Shadow of the Father in novel category. I've got False Dawn in the short story category. I've posted on LiveJournal and FA about all this stuff. KM, and you had...
I don't think I even did a post. I think the only thing I put out last year that's votable on is my short story single.
Okay.
I think that's it. That's really sad. This is what Summerhill does to me. No, that's not true. I actually worked on several stories last year. They're just all things that are coming out in published form this year.
Right, and that's kind of the same thing.
They haven't been released, so they're not eligible for 2010.
Yeah.
Did you like that story, though? Anyone?
Since
by the time you're listening to this, nominations are over, I preemptively condemn you for not voting for me.
I might have made a journal post last year.
But Anyway, there is another category that we've not talked about yet, and it is something I had not thought of until Kit handed me this news brief before the show. We think it would be really cool in the category of Best Anthropomorphic Game of the Year to nominate or vote for, because hopefully it already garnered a nomination, the Furry Basketball Association.
Huh. Interesting.
It is an anthropomorphic game.
And I think
it doesn't say video game, does it?
Yeah, and I think it's much more, opposed to giving, a big studio that's not going to pay any attention to the fact that, furry games. I mean, I would like it to go down that road, actually, because,
Yeah.
I mean, you add in, maybe Ferroticon, and everything like that. I would actually, yeah.
Because I'm sure Insomniac really wants the recognition of us.
Oh, goody! They enjoyed the Ratchet and Clank game. That's great. We'll put this into our wall called the Incinerator.
But yeah, no, I think that's a super cool idea. I think, I'd love to see Ferroticon nominated too, or whatever games people produce. I mean, it's all produced within the fandom.
They retcon it, pull it back, and they do like battle tanks.
Oh God, Tank Vixens.
You know what? They should just go ahead and pull like an all time of the games and put in even like put in all the RPG books like the Iron Claw and Jade Claw. They might as well do if we're going crazy, we might as well just go
Iron
crazy.
Claw was nominated for game at some point, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, their second edition did finally just come out this year. So
2010 or 2011?
2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I have to say, if
it was released at Anthrocon.
We're a little bit behind the curve as far as getting nominations out, but maybe we can talk about them on our journals or something.
If you've never played Iron Claw, that's actually a really good system.
Oh yeah,
like
I played Iron Claw for years.
I
And years.
love the way that works.
I've seen. I don't own a copy of the new edition source book, but they have streamlined the system greatly.
Oh,
and
cool!
I've done a little bit of.
It wasn't a slow
playtesting for it.
system. It wasn't a slow system to begin with, but
No.
I liked it because it's a lot more role play focused.
Yes, there's a lot more emphasis on like social interactions and stuff, because it's not like, oh, it's D&D with animals. Like, it has a very like well defined like setting with like this whole like courtly system with like nobility and
you're not sitting there trying to get through a room in 45 minutes of just like, roll, you move 6 spaces, try to go fast. No, elf can't do that.
And is that made by furries?
Yes, it is.
Within the furry community.
Sanguine Productions is a furry.
I thought they were. I know.
Company.
Rafferty is
Yes.
is in the fandom, but I didn't know if the whole group was.
Though my favorite thing about that whole Iron Claw, if you go and find the first edition of their book, it is absolutely just a carbon copy of like Lena Inverse from Slayers.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like absolutely, just 100%, just But yeah, they kind of went and retcon that whole out. That was quite amazing.
There's actually a story behind that cover, which I should probably tell you off the air.
Oh, sure,
But yeah.
we can do it.
I'm going to be really old school and ask if either of you guys remembers Palladium Games
Oh yeah, they did riffs and
the
TMNT. Yep.
The TMNT game was
After the bomb.
first thing I ever played with furries.
Like the old NES TMNT, or
No, this was it was
No, it
a
was a
pen and paper
tabletop.
tabletop game.
Oh, okay, sorry. I was suddenly just caught in
But they had-
underwater caverns trying
were
to
all like-
disarm bombs and
You were all like mutating,
level.
and you could select. They had like a table where you could roll all kinds of different animals, or you could just pick your animal if you didn't want to roll it randomly.
Oh, okay.
And they had different sizes, and
I think I might have
Like,
seen
you
that.
could
That might have
Palladium had a lot of percentile rolling.
been, yeah, that might have been the one I saw like somebody
It was a neat
rebought.
system.
And, yeah,
you had so
okay.
many points, and you could choose to make your points to make you more humanoid, or to give you more powers, but remaining in like animal form without hands and stuff.
Right.
These games are in books, therefore I can talk about them. There.
But speaking of the FBA, also our own K-Tech, who is sponsoring the rookie player Blancmange, a large white wolf. Blancmange was the only player to make first team All-Star game and the rookie challenge. So he's having himself a great rookie year. A little woohoo to K-Tech out there. And he'll be looking for his contract extension. And
Sheet of paper.
we've gotten another thing to discuss from Kit. Just talk some author writing about 9 factors that make a picture book successful. It's interesting because a lot of it is I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's kind of longish, but the points that she makes are right. It's
Whispers from afar, giving us information.
yes, not the way Notcast describes it though. She talks about the book being full of movement, identifiable characters, universal appeal, humor, unique concept. I mean, and all of these things are applicable in a broad sense to mainstream books or whatever book you're writing as well. Not so much maybe pattern and or repetition, although I think to a certain extent your ability to use repetition in your prose strengthens things for the reader. Like I've talked a lot about the Dark is Rising series, and the prophecies that they put in there, the lines that are repeated over and over again gain this kind of mystical quality to them.
Right.
And because they have importance to the story, but they're repeated, it actually is pretty cool. It's a neat part of the books.
I'm just thinking of in Rurouni Kenshin, anytime somebody begins something with "it was 10 years ago in Kyoto," like like shit's going on when somebody mentions "it was 10 years ago in Kyoto."
And
it's not quite that mystical.
And then she talks about interactivity and rereadability, which are mostly applicable to children's books because children are going to want to have the same book read to them over and over again. So you want something that a parent is going to want to read over and over again. You can all recall Calvin and Hobbes.
Yes.
Gooey Kablooey. Yes, you don't want to write that one. Or maybe you do, because Calvin demanded it even though his parents hated it.
Or
Hamster Huey and the Gooey Kablooey.
Yeah, that was it. I knew there was another part to the title. No, all I'm thinking is just Christopher Walken reading Goodnight Moon.
But this article was written by Tracy Marchini, who's a freelance writer, and she's got a lot of highlights. She writes about children's young adult fiction. So her last name is Marchini. You could look her up on the Googles.
It's funny, you were talking about how she said children's writer, and you said she's got a lot of highlights, and I was just like, for a moment, I'm like, does he mean the magazine?
Yes, actually.
Oh, really?
God.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
She's been published in Highlights magazine and is the recipient of a partial grant for an October 2010 Highlights Foundation workshop. Served as a mentor for the 2008 and 9 Rutgers One-on-One Plus Children's Literature Conference. Critiqued query letters and/or manuscripts for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Poughkeepsie
I still
Conference.
pick those up when I go to the dentist.
Is it just me, or is everyone associated with the dentist? Not the doctor, specifically the dentist.
Highlights in cricket.
Ooh, cricket. And
And
Ranger Rick.
didn't say that. It was all highlights for me.
Yep.
Yeah. Ranger Rick we got in school.
So
I had my childhood crush on Ranger Rick.
I'm trying to think what's going on with us
So it
specifically.
began.
I mentioned in my journal that I was working on the out of position hardcover layout. I've sent that off to SofaWolf, so they're going to be putting it into the works, and sometime in the spring they're going to do an online order. I don't believe they're going to do pre-orders. I think they will just put it up for sale. So quantities will, of course, be limited somewhat, but hopefully not in the limited way that the Isolation Play pre-orders were. And by the time we record our next podcast, I believe I will probably have finished a first draft of my novel about the Calations, which means I need to sit down for a month and let it kind of
Percolate.
And then
Let it sit
probably
in the back to tank.
and then yes, and then I probably have to split it into two and work on it as 2 books because it's way too long right now, and it's actually kind of got 2 story arcs to it. So we'll see. But anyway, that's I'll talk more about that at the next podcast when hopefully I finished.
Let's see. Summerhill's going well.
Yay!
I am into my 3rd act now, where we're the action is rising towards a climax, and
Omer.
no, it's not that kind of Omer. For one, the scene right now, he's with a girl.
Wasn't he naked in a tube?
Oh, sign me up. Let's do this.
You heard it here first, folks. Flain wants an advanced copy of Summerhill.
I'm going to go ahead and start that Furnet chat room naked in a tube.
So,
I have not re-gotten to that scene yet.
Okay.
That's probably the next major scene, though.
And also, I have a new hat, which I'm sporting, which none of y'all can see.
It is a nice hat.
Yeah, combined with that, with the jacket you had on earlier, it looked like that you were going to go tell some dame that that she was trouble.
He was in his Dixon Hill getup. If you remember that.
I was hearing internal monologue.
I'm just going back to Tracer Bullet from Calvin and Hobbes, but Kit reminds me that we booked our tickets for New York City. Kit and I are going.
Meaning them.
Yeah, Kit and I are going to attend the presentation of the 3rd annual Shorty Awards, which, thanks to all of y'all out there, I am a finalist. I was the last finalist in the author category. So we're going to go hobnob with the likes of John Green and Sergio Aviles, and hopefully MC Hammer MC Hammer will be there.
Yeah, I bet you Nathan Fillion and Felicia Day will be there too.
Wow.
Oh, I haven't heard if they would, but
no, I mean that would be cool.
It seems like the kind of thing that Nathan Fillion and Felicia Day would go to.
And I'm kind of suspecting Justin Bieber might actually show up.
Let's see, screaming social media fangirls. Yeah, probably.
Since he is a Twitter whore, and I don't mean that in the
He doesn't have as many followers as Lady Gaga, though.
Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll show up, and then you can feel double bad.
Oh, I'm not there with Lady Gaga. Oh.
But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to do a meet in New York. I'm trying to nail down the location, but it will be sometime the 26th or 27th of March, so keep your ears on the Live Journal and the Fur Affinity Journal, and it will be announced there. Also on Twitter, of course, which is where this whole thing got started. And say, Flain,
hey.
Do you have any news about yourself to share with us and our listeners?
Let's see. I've decided, man, this is hard, that I'm going to be taking my talents to South Beach and playing for the Miami. Yeah,
They could use you right about now.
Yeah, it seems that entire plan wasn't exactly turning out the way that they. I mean, they'll probably make it, but I don't pay as much attention to basketball as some of your other. You're more of a hockey fan, and just watching that as a sad, depressing slope downhill for my team. So, come on, Thrashers, you were number one.
But I did notice you're going native with your San Jose garb.
Yeah, I just haven't gone to a game yet. I think we're gonna save it for the Sharks versus Ducks come March. Good.
Ooh, that'll be a good game.
Because you want to go to a game where you can root for the Sharks.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to like Sharks Thrashers because then they're like
that was the opener this
Thrashers.
year. No, if I would have gone to the opener, guess which jersey I was wearing? I would have had some very snobby people going. But
San Jose fans are nice.
They're pretty much.
They'll give you a hard time. But
Even like other hockey teams say that we have like the best crowds in the NHL.
That's a great stadium. It has nothing on Phillips Arena, but it's still a good stadium.
I've worn opposing team gear to Oakland A's games.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that probably didn't go well.
That was
you didn't get knifed.
I did not get knifed, but that was mostly because my team was down like 6-0 by the second inning. So then they were all pretty nice to me, and they were like, "Yeah, you're sporting your gear. Good effort, man. Good effort." And
that's what you get for rooting for the Nationals.
I'm pretty certain.
I just have a hard on for Jason Worth.
Yeah,
you just follow him around.
With any team in Oakland, sounds like the Warriors.
How did I sign with the Nationals?
With any Oakland team besides like the Warriors, it seems like you're liable to have your back window bashed in if you have a hey, look, somebody's got a Chargers license plate. Oh, hey, look, your back window.
I do know someone who got his car keyed in the Angels parking lot.
Huh?
Yeah, and it wasn't even like he was sporting some other team apparel. It's just like they didn't like the car.
Well, I mean, it's not like any time recently that we've heard of massive fans taking their privileges too far and completely destroying home team's turf. Oh, burn them all.
The Angels' full official name is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. So if you translate their name as the Angels of Anaheim. Suck on that syntax.
But anyway, you're taking your talents to South Bay.
I'm taking
To South Bay. We are
South Bay.
Yeah.
Oh, it is technically South Bay. I don't know if we're going to shorten it down, but it sounds like thus far we're going to have there is going to be a relaunch of Anthropod/Anthropodcast. So this is happening. This happened mainly for two reasons. I like people paying attention to me, and no, that's not the main one. I did want to get back into it. I think that having a news outlet, it's really just something that there's some things out there, but I think having a show for it, there was tons of people who were just like, God, I didn't know this much stuff happened in the fandom. It was great. I didn't know this, that this happened or this happened, and these conventions are coming up. So it was really kind of nice to have that. The other one was because some jerk on a podcast was mentioning something about awards and said something to the extent of, or Flain, that guy, and he can have an award on maybe not having a podcast. And, that incited a rage inside of me that caused me to suddenly need to text message him telling me that he would suffer well. So I do have to thank you, KM. I
looked at my phone. I'm like, "Is Flain drunk? What's going on?"
No, it was one of those moments of like terrific clarity because it's just like I was listening, and for the first, and this will go into my other rant, but it was like the first time I'd actually like sat down. I'm like, these guys are my friends. I've popped up on their show. I need to actually, like, honest to God, start listening.
And that was the first time you'd been listening.
Yeah, and, it is the terrible. I mean, besides the fact that I've listened to like which show was I on? All right, oh God, I'm so good, and now I listen back and I'm like, God, I'm so drunk. I'm not as bad tonight, but yeah, it was the one episode with Don Ryu, which, and I was just like, oh, cool, it's Don, awesome. It was great to listen to him because he's one of my, back home Atlanta buds, and just to hear that, and I was just like, okay, KM, let's do this. All right. I'm not drunk, but I'll get there. So yeah,
I'll get there for you.
I decided to go ahead and do the break that it's going to be starting back up. The host of the show is going to be myself. I have pulled in two other people to help me with it. One is going to be an on-air personality. The other one is actually going to help us out with a bunch of the editing and show up, when he can. One of them you may know, who has been on the show recently because I actually heard him on one of the more recent episodes. I'm going to have Jacoby. Little bit.
We had not Jacoby on the show, apparently.
One of the two.
Yeah.
But he's going to be, or maybe I'll get not Jacoby. I'm really not certain which one I can get it.
I think it just. I think it depends on how much he's had to drink as far as which one shows up.
We'll do a crapshoot on it and figure out. The other person who was nice enough to decide to help out is Potaru. He's gonna,
Gru. He's cool.
Yeah, Gru's awesome. He's actually the chairman over at Feral, and he does audio editing. I guess he does some stuff in the area up there in Toronto.
He has a pink mohawk.
Yeah. That's, adding a little bit of, I know that I rock out in punk wear right now, but good to have.
We appreciate you taking all the earrings off so they don't jingle on the air.
Well, I kept the stud in on my tongue, so I hope it doesn't click around too many times during the show. But
depends on what you're doing with it.
Oh, shoot, what do you want to? But we're going to be relaunching. I believe we're still going through the process of figuring out everything. It's going to be kind of redesigned. We're changing a few of the aims. We're looking at hour shows, so not looking at these huge, expansive, long shows like sometimes they've done in the past. But we as I said, we still got to figure out. We might do Ustreams. It's kind of dependent on bandwidth, but yeah, we're trying to figure that. I'm hoping that it can be late next month, but as I said, I've got to figure out some of the fun stuff like setting up a web page and getting that set and figuring out how to get iTunes to maybe sort of somehow pull across the RSS feed, which if you've ever had to change your RSS feed, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, you're probably better off just setting up something
Yeah,
new.
that's pretty much what iTunes has the worst system for changing your RSS. It's just like, put this in your RSS feed. I can't do that. It's automatically generated. Oh, SOL.
Well, we've been messing with Podcast Alley for a while. They had another one that said, if you want to claim your RSS feed, you have to put this thing into it. And so I put the thing into it, but apparently, like, at the point where I put the thing into the RSS feed, it stops picking up the episodes because it hasn't like refreshed them in 20 episodes or something. So I have to go log in and see what's up with that. But I'm kind of not motivated to do that because I don't know anyone who actually goes there and tries to listen to it through them.
Yeah, so some of the weird podcast technology like that, a lot of it is made to make life easy. But if anything changes, it makes life so hard.
I think for us, everyone either just goes to the feed directly, like pulls the RSS into their reader, or they go to iTunes. I don't know anyone who wants to do anything else.
I think on the old stream, if I can still put something up there, I might put hey, get the new show here, please, thanks.
But if anyone's out there, by the way, who would like to listen to the podcast some other way that we've not made available yet, send us an email, or you guys can email Kit directly at kit@kyellgold.com. And he will try to make that happen.
Back in the old days, with when we were trying to press discs for Clawcast, it came up that we were doing MP3s, and I think it was Zim that came up with like, dude, we should also do ones for do wave files and stuff. I'm like, you do realize that would be one per disc? Be like, this is awesome. I can listen to it in my car, and so please pay $15 for this one episode. That would be great.
Also, you can just email Kit at that address if you feel like saying hi to him. He likes that.
Yep. I do, and this is a terribly funny gift, and I was told by my girlfriend I could not give you this because it embarrasses her so. But what happened was last night we were doing the business, and I have these special condoms that I like. See, I'm going to take it there.
All right,
that's good. We're an adult podcast,
and
everyone who listens to this is 18 or over.
And they're printed. And I'm sad that it was the only one. But after the business was done, I looked down at the wrapper, and it was a cartoon otter. I swear to God. What? Wow. It wasn't a car. I just looked at it, I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. I was just like, oh, that would have been perfect. But I immediately went to because this is what I do right after the business, is immediately jump to my dresser drawer and think of fun things to do. To business. But...
That's a soundbite there, kid. Remember that.
So the lesson is, if we want Flain to be creative in the furry community, he's got to get some on a regular basis.
Yes.
Yes. But so what I did is I went and I picked out 2 of them. So you might have some use. No, unfortunately, as I said, there was no otters left. If you want, I could bring you the old wrapper that I opened, but I didn't think it would have much use to you. But I thought you would probably get a kick out of that one. It is of a football.
Wow.
Yep.
It is, and it says Hut 1 on it.
Yep. And this one is Howl at 1, which
nice.
has a moon and a howling canine of some point. But these are One Pleasure Dome condoms.
I am familiar with this brand.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I did in fact have one at one point.
And now you have another one.
Now I have another one. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad I could make your night with a condom.
Yes.
Hopefully, by the time this podcast airs, I will have been to Furry Fiesta and back. It won't have this anymore.
Someone's got goals.
Everyone has to have goals in life.
To be revisited on our podcast at Furry Fiesta.
So, Cam,
Working on it.
So, Cam, how's it going? I've still got it on and I'm ready. put it on when I landed. Stewardess didn't like it, but whatever.
She didn't like it at first.
Serious.
Anyway.
Yep.
Well, cool. We're looking forward to the relaunch of Answer Podcast. And, Clawcast.
I listen. The first time I was here, I ruined your podcast. So this is the danger of always putting a microphone in front of me. I'm just going to go.
So we broke it or made it better.
And now all of you guys out there have an idea of what his new podcast is going to be like. And if you want to hear more about the business, you'll have to tune into the new Answer Podcast.
Ladies in the casket.
So before we launch into email, shall we go on to...
Oh, yeah, we have something for Flain to unwrap, too.
Well, you shouldn't have.
We provided fortune cookies for the entire crew.
Oh.
And,
okay. All right. Wait, I was told that we gotta do the plastic sound a little bit, too. Oh, yeah. You enjoy that cookie. And then you read it. What does that cookie tell you, baby?
This is interesting. Mine is... An enjoyable vacation is awaiting you near the mountains.
wow.
I was going to go down to, some Santa Cruz wineries soon.
I was going to say, there's no mountains in Dallas.
No, but there's mountains around here. The mountains got a lot of snow this week. I don't know if you've seen.
I know, I saw some snow, on the way over here. I was like, them clouds sure is slow.
Don't worry, it stays up in the mountains. Mm-hmm. It doesn't come down here. Mine says, remember 1 month from this date.
Okay.
Your lucky star is shining.
You always get lucky more than me.
This is well, I am married. This is
Kyell just lucky, I guess.
This is the 20th, so March 20th. Where are we going to be? Is that Atlanta? Yeah, we're going to be at FWA in a month.
Yeah. Wish I was going, but now I noticed that the plane tickets have jumped up to $500. I was like, wah, wah.
It's cool, Flain. I'll be here that weekend.
Yeah, all right, we can cuddle.
Sweet.
We have freaking flower miles, so.
Yep. Mine has a little bit of fun to it. One has a bee on it, which I very appreciate.
Oh yeah, we have the lucky bees out here.
Your long ago lost money will be coming back to you, which is great because I just did my taxes. So
Awesome. Kids, what does yours say? Success is yours. Now is the time to go confidently forward. Awesome.
But not to go straight.
Exactly.
the opposite is
Very well
failure. The opposite is failures is yours. Go successfully backwards.
Yes.
Well,
GB2 fortune.
we do all have lucky fortunes. We have some emails to read, which Flain is going to help us out with.
Emails!
What we are going to start with the vocal stylings of K.M. Hirosaki.
So this is a quick one. Hey there, K-named podcasters.
Hey.
Plus Flain, who's an F-named podcaster. I know the book recommendation time has passed. Oh, it's never too late for book recommendations. Recently, however, I stumbled across some books which might qualify for our furry persuasion. Dog on It, note the pun in that word, a Chet and Bernie mystery and subsequent sequels by Spencer Quinn. The books are about a private investigator narrated from the perspective of the PI's dog. It is adorable, endearing, and gives various ways of injecting species into the book, with regular emphasis and explanation of smells, for instance. From Rashawn. I actually haven't... Yep, thank you. I don't think I've heard of these books, but
no, I haven't either,
thank you for pointing them out.
I do like the conceit of the pet narrating the stories. That's a motif that's been used before, and I'm trying to figure out where specifically. Like something fairly well known. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what. I know they've done.
And not Look Who's Talking Now.
I know they've done Sherlock Holmes stories.
God, I love that movie.
About Toby the dog.
I say that in jest. I hate it.
But no, that sounds cool. We will have to check it out.
Then there's Look Who's Talking 2, which is the baby.
Well, no,
Hey,
Look Who's
no,
Talking
no.
was
Look
the
Who's
baby.
Talking was the baby.
Look Who's Talking 2 brought Roseanne Barr in as
Oh,
the other
yeah!
baby. Then Look Who's Talking Now was...
Hi! I'm in your movie! Don't
gotta
worry, I'm
say-
speaking away. It shouldn't spike too bad.
My back hurts.
Now my front hurts!
Great commercial.
That was pretty amusing. I'm amused that Richard Lewis has parlayed his frequent Curb Your Enthusiasm appearances into a commercial appearance. Because as far as I know, he's not really doing anything else.
Maybe you shouldn't give me a job.
All right. Hello, Sheathers. I'm writing this in response to episode 65. I just wanted to tell... we're going to break into this message for a public service announcement from KM about what to do when you're writing us letters in response to something that we said in an episode.
Oh, yes. When you're going to refer to past episodes that we do, try to give us some context about what you're referring to. Just because when you do these week after week after week, it all blurs together. And,
Especially since we have like a month and a half lag between letters. And...
like letters, and then like by the time we record them and by the time they're aired, like there's just so much time has passed. And unless you tell us what you're talking about, odds are like we're not going to know. I mean, I even listen to I listen to episodes when they come out. Like I make a habit of listening to every show we put out.
But at this point, episode 65 was like almost 3 months ago.
Yeah, so like I don't know what that refers. And this isn't like me yelling at you here.
I'm just saying
but
it will allow us and our audience to get more out of the letters.
yeah, because I'm sure that like the audience is going like episode 65. What one was that?
But thank you for identifying the
And then there's-
episode, because now they can go back and listen to that
Right.
one if they want to hear about it.
But then there's going to be, your people who are just like, episode 65? Of course you should know what happened. That's
Yeah,
the
I
one
think I
where-
remember Notcast had some fans like that where Fuzzwolf said, "Oh, episode 7," and someone was like, "Oh yeah, episode 7. That was the one where you read this letter from such and such and this letter from such and such." And Fuzzwolf was like,
chroniclers.
"Oh, okay, if you say so." Anyway,
See, if it were Star Wars, I could tell you.
well, that's because they only had 6 episodes.
Read the email, Kyle.
I just wanted to tell you my views on being an open furry, and I hope that my experiences can help others as well. I've been openly furry for about 2.5 years now, and I'd
Check
say
your
that the
firewall.
best way to deal with it is how you present it at first. I always tell people that a furry is, quote, a person who is part of an online community based around art and literature of animals and anthropomorphic characters, end
Good
quote.
one.
As Kyell and KM said, you don't have to go into details about what you like specifically, as Kyell is interjecting now, you probably should not.
Yeah, don't do
But
that.
if you tell them that half the time they will accept the answer, and the other half of the time they'll ask you what an anthropomorphic character is, to which I say, like Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse. Presenting the furry community with something that everyone can relate to will help immensely.
Like the sexy cover to the Robin Hood DVD.
I personally use Disney's Robin Hood. Actually, I was just
Yeah.
going to say Disney's Robin Hood, because most people are familiar with that. And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, walking, talking foxes, sure."
I actually pulled
Plus, he's
that
a
out.
fox, so-
I pulled that out while watching a Sharks game in the lobby of Further Confusion on Monday.
You pulled the DVD out.
No, I pulled out the Robin Hood reference to
Okay.
explain to somebody what the whole shindig was about.
He pulled out something on a shark.
I thank you for your time in reading this letter, and I hope it will help many who wish to come out of the furry closet. I'm sure it's quite warm in there with all that fur. Thanks again, Jay Hopkins, a.k.a. Cy the Cheetah. P.S. KM's rant certainly was a mouthful.
Wait, what?
Thank you for taking care of our obligatory blowjob reference. Yeah, I mean, that's cool. I know that a lot of people do think of there being like a furry closet, and I don't think of that necessarily so much because I
Yeah.
don't make an effort to hide it from people. I just don't talk about it.
No, I mean like I'm allowed to wear as with most people who live in the area around which our mountain bunker is centered. There's not really a strict dress code. Like people don't really need to really wear business clothes. I'm like, yeah, I'll wear like a furrycon t-shirt to work and like not really bat an eyelash, and like nobody says anything about it usually.
Yeah, and I wear business clothes.
yeah.
And when I say I go to a science fiction convention on the weekends, nobody asks, well, what's the focus of that science fiction convention?
And like, I think it's weird. It's funny actually. I was wearing an Anthrocon shirt one day, and no, it wasn't. I was putting in requests for my days off one year to go to Anthrocon, and my boss to see me wearing like furry shirts and whatnot. He goes, "Wait a minute, are you going to Anthrocon?" And I'm like, "Actually, yeah." And he's like, "Oh my god, really?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "That's so funny." Like, just because like he happened to know what Anthrocon was, and he's like, "Is that where you're going?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." But yeah, like I hear people talk about like, "Oh, like never let anyone know you're a furry, or like you'll lose your job." And I'm like, "Where the fuck do you work?"
I have a little bit. I don't wear stuff that's like blatantly and terribly, that says it. And maybe it's just my own comfort level of just like not wanting to go around in a t-shirt that says, Furry Week in Atlanta or something like that actually states it. That's why I love the feral gear, because it was just like feral, just written in a really nice
really
text. And it's just like, okay, somebody could look at that and go, that looks really good, and not have to get into a big conversation about it. But
yeah, Kit and I have worn our hoodies out.
Yeah,
out and about.
But on the other hand, there's ones that I certainly would wear. There's some that, at least in my thoughts, like I'm trying to remember the artist, but she has some T-shirts that she sells that she sells by the seashore. That she sells that have pretty much like a fox, and he's in his boxers and looking kind of coy. And I was just kind of like, well, that's a little bit questionable for public, but different strokes,
like
different
a Michelle
folks.
Light shirt.
Yeah, Michelle Light. That's it.
Yeah.
I have like a kind of racy Michelle Light shirt myself.
You do.
Yeah.
That
one I actually do sort of like, before I put that on, I'm like, am I going anywhere today that I would be embarrassed to be seen wearing this?
I kind of like the ones that Kyovi's doing.
Actually, my roommate was wearing a Kyovi shirt earlier today.
She's got like the
one with the dog with the ninja wrap on his head.
The dog. There's a coffee company one, which I forget exactly what it is.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, though.
And there's the Citra shirts, but they just kind of look like maybe retro company logo, logo gear, and it's not something that people would be like, "Oh my god, you're a furry." Be like, "Oh, that's an interesting design."
I think the great stuff. I mean, there's several artists who have gotten stuff up on Woot and have gotten stuff on Threadless, like
I'm wearing
on the
a Woot
front
shirt
page.
right now.
Yeah, I know. There you go. Where it's stuff that's just generalized, or it's really cute and it's expandable to everybody. That's kind of what I like. I'm not as open to just kind of lay it out there to anybody, but that's also just the entire fact. I have no fear of if somebody comes up to me at a con and is like, "Dude, what's up with these people with tails?"
Right.
This email is exactly what I say. I go down it's people who like things with animal features to it, like Bugs Bunny, and they usually go, "Oh," and then walk away.
Right.
They don't go, "Oh my god, you sick freak!" Like, and again, like I think we need to, as a fandom, get over this persecution complex. Like, yes, dickholes from Something Awful have historically made fun of us, but like the average person has no idea we exist, nor do they care.
But
the
thing that I love thus far is that the fandom has grown up to that. Have you noticed, like in the span of 5 years?
Yeah,
it used to be the fact that Something Awful or some web page would write something, and the fandom would explode. How could somebody not like us? We're awesome in this. And in about 5 years,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are.
But in 5 years, people have gone to this more like, okay, so some jerks on the internet said words about us. Can we just keep going? Each time that somebody does a TV special.
But then there was Tyragate. Let's not relive those days.
Yeah, but even that was over kind of fast.
Yeah. I mean, like, from the days where you had the Vanity Fair article and you had the Sex 2K, where those were like month-long endeavors of just
drama.
Of just
dealing for years, Vanity Fair was like the name drop to make of like, it was like, never forget Vanity Fair.
And before that, I'm pulling out my Grey Muzzle card. Before that, it was Wired.
Yes, it was Wired.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fandoms, even though there's been a steady stream of people coming in, it's almost like we older folks, we Grey Muzzles 30 plus, I'm not a gray muzzle yet. Ha! Or at least in that definition.
You just fist pounded me as it was a lie. You lied to me through fist pound. I hate when people do that.
Well, I think too that the younger folks that are coming into the fandom are coming into it from a standpoint of the people their age are all into video games and Pokemon and Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! and whatever the hell else people are into these days. And they're like, furry is not weirder than all of this other crap. And I think in general, the younger people tend to be less self-conscious about it than younger people were 5 years ago, because there's so many other little anime the video game fandoms have really exploded the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, and I also think people have gotten more used to the internet in general, where
and they all know more about
the
furries.
fact that you can find information on furries, you can do big web searches, and the number one thing that when you search furry, I doubt is a something awful article now. It's probably something far more relevant, probably
furry.com.
Wikipedia or something like that.
It used for a while. It was like Peter Cat's guide to furry. I know that.
Yeah, but I mean that's happened, and people have kind of understand the unwritten laws of the internet, where it's just like, okay, people are going to, nobody goes into YouTube now and goes, God, these people are just so mean. They've gotten used to the fact that there are D-bags on the internet saying D-baggery things.
On the other hand, you still have documentary specials from the Learning Channel called in the My Strange Fetish series, which included a feature on fursuits.
Yeah.
Along with the woman who likes to eat her own skin.
There's a word for that.
So one of the there was not to pull this along too much further.
Well,
but,
you got a question to read next.
Yeah, so. I've got that. I'm stalling. But no, there was actually a documentary that went through a whole bunch of conventions, and it went to just a general sci-fi convention. It went to an anime convention, and then it went to a furry convention. And it seemed like, okay, this is a little weird. They're just dopey, and they dance around, and they do everything. And I know that Kage was on there, and he was doing his Kage, and everything. I do a terribly good Kage. But
I need more wine first.
Oh, excuse me. But, that happened. And then it moved to Dragon Con. And there was no different, separation of, oh, God, this is kind of weird. Look at that guy's spiky hair. And then it just turned sinister. It's just and now for the late night shows, I'm putting this hot skewer through my arm! And you immediately forgot about the fandom.
Holy crap.
It was literally just now just scream louder because it helps me. Ah! It's just cranking it right through his arm.
I hear nothing but horror stories about Dragon Con.
Oh God, Dragon Con is insane.
I hear it's like you think of Furry Con is weird. Check out Dragon Con. That's a real freak show.
Wow,
that place is insane. I mean, that's probably it's probably like Comic-Con, but it has I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Comic-Con on meth.
I was going to say I don't think because my body needs that. I don't think anybody at Comic-Con put hot skewers through their arms intentionally. Although one person did put a pencil through another person's face last year. But
it's different. They used to do this, but Guar had it wasn't naked, but it was crazy thonged guy sci-fi wrestling at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Just these strange things.
And even at Comic-Con, they had there was that incident where the two guys were fighting over a seat that had been saved in one of the halls. And they were friends, and one of them just jabbed the other one in the face with the pencil near the eye, which through the telephone game got turned into stabbed in the eye. Not actually true, but the next day there were people wandering around Comic-Con with hastily made impromptu costumes of an eye patch and little signs that said "Save me a seat" and stuff. It was really amusing. So. No, Comic-Con's awesome.
Everyone's dying for a cheap cosplay costume.
But,
here
go
we go.
ahead, read your letter. There's more about furry in that one.
Is that the next one?
It is the next one.
Okay.
It's the one that starts, hello again, esteemed stages of the furry bent.
See, you already started it. You should know. I did voiceover work. I'm trying to get into it. Hello again, esteemed stages of the furry bent.
You said stages, too.
Hey, hello again. Well, esteemed sages just kind of comes off funny. Hello again, esteemed sages of the furry bent. Hopefully this attempt at evading the peace of your mountain bunker finds you all happy and healthy. I have a few questions for you this time around, so I'll do my best to keep the email short, which
Wow.
he failed to do.
Yeah, I was going to say, if that's your...
There's a bunch of double carriage
If that's
returns.
your
It's all-
best,
That is true.
I kind of wonder how long it was originally.
First off, do you have a preference one way or the other for hard copies of books or ebooks? You won't hit these one-on-one since there's a few.
Sure, this one's
there's a
kind of
few-
easy. Hard copies.
Yeah, hard copies too. I don't even own an ebook reader. Although I
I
guess
do.
It's called a phone.
And I will say there's convenience to it, and I love the fact that I can take a whole bunch of books with me just in this one little device. But, man, if I have the choice, we're going on a lot of plane trips in the next month, and I am going to bring my Kindle, but I'm also going to bring 2 or 3 regular paper books.
Yeah, I take pride in my bookshelf.
Yeah, I kind of do too. I mean, I just can't sit there at a computer. My life is sitting at a computer screen, staring at words, telling me things. I don't think I could stand sitting there and staring at a screen and looking at more words. But I love, I just like having a book, something that's tangible and that I can go back to. Because I feel like if it's something where it is just a tablet or something, or even if it's on my phone, I'll forget it's even there. Part of the fun is going through your bookshelf and going, oh, I like that. Yeah, let me hit that again. But let's see. Oh, people are writing. Okay, I'll continue on. Having recently bought an iPad, I found I cannot abandon my love of paper despite the advantage of a bright backlit forcing me to stay awake as long as possible. I also like to keep hard copies for the inevitable exclamation of, "Oh, you have not read that yet," which usually leads to a trip to the nearest second-hand bookstore for a newly vacated piece on my shelves. Secondly, I decided to try my hand at writing again and was wondering if you have any advice on introducing the concept of furry characters to a mainstream audience without adding in a prologue describing it. I have only recently started reading and writing anthropomorphic fiction, so I have no idea which authors to look for at the examples of introducing humanoid characters, as most of what I see within the fandom is tailored to a furry audience. I don't dislike that catering, but at the same time I want the challenge of introducing furry characters to those with no exposure to the concept.
Like Bugs Bunny,
Well,
Yiffington J. Fox stood on 2 legs.
so because there's a PS after this, so I guess we can talk about this now.
Yeah. I actually replied to his email addressing the PS because that was mostly a technical. He's talking about. We'll talk about it when we get to it, but yeah.
Okay. My experience with this: don't worry about over-explaining things. Give your readers more credit than that. Honestly, the idea of walking, talking two-legged animal people isn't that far-fetched.
Right.
In my experience, I have written furry fiction and have given it to people in writing courses that I have taken, which have been like workshop style, where it's like, okay, here's a group of like 15 people, none of whom are furries except Kyell. And they're all going to read, your story and get back to you. And they're like, yeah, like nobody, like
there was some confusion about it.
There's some confusion.
They wanted to know, were they 4 foot or 2 foot because it was unclear.
Well, I talk about them having
originally,
hands and wearing clothes, but and then they'll do the foxes want to eat the rabbits,
right,
and stuff like that.
Well,
not in this story, they don't.
I just had that one website, reviews by Jesse Wave, reviewed Out of Position and Isolation Play, and they're not furries at all.
No.
And actually, this is kind of, it might be considered cheating, but a picture is worth 1,000 words, and if you give them a book, even with just a cover that has the furry critters on it, that gives them a frame of reference immediately to say, oh, okay, it's a person with fur and the head of an animal and the tail of an animal. And
the cock of an animal. Depending on how you want to do it.
Hold on, I need to F-list this up.
If you got
if you
got blotch doing your art, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find if you could get a picture, introducing it in writing I've done it. It's not. I think
it's hard to do without it feeling forced.
Yeah.
In fact, I just got handed a 3-page story beginning the other day. It's like, can you just look at this? And I was like, okay, sure. And again, there was that sort
No,
of like
Cam does not do that all the time.
no, this was for like somebody I've known for a long time. And they were like, look, it's like a few hundred words. Can you just look at it and get back to me in like a week? And I was like, sure.
Picked up the lighter and
No, my e-lighter. But yeah, it was that same sort of like, you don't need to apologize to the reader for the fact that your characters are walking, talking animal people. Like, just don't do that.
getting the grabby hands.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, be minimal. Use pictures if you can.
Yeah. You're looking at me.
There's more to the letter. I don't.
Oh, okay, all right.
If you had other stuff to contribute, go ahead. If not, then
I mean, I think in many cases, and I think we were describing this a little earlier, was catering challenge introducing. I mean, I've done a little bit of just side writing on my own. I admit that I've kind of hit this where it's just like, all right, well, how many times do I need to state that it's a coyote, and to make sure reinforce that that's the image, that this is the coyote, and associate with this. It's something where I agree with you on that. Where if you don't have an image to go with it, it is a harder race to kind of get through.
Yeah.
Where, and that's why I think that I like things that cheat like comics and stuff like that, where it's just
Right.
like,
And then
oh,
there's
I
no
have
problem.
to here. It was this. You draw it. This is words. Go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just something you kind of have to fight through. And that's a good editor could probably tell you, hey, you tried too hard, or wait, who is this again? Oh, okay. Well, try and be a little bit less vague on it.
right.
With practice, you'll always figure out what the right mix is, as long as you can be critical about your own writing and go, well, did it make sense to me if I had not written this?
Right.
So, let's see.
Yeah. So if you finish off the letter, we could skip the PS because the PS is just kind of a
Yeah, I
technical
was just
thing,
looking
and,
at it, like,
and as I
yeah,
said, I replied to
that's
them already.
Not
so.
really relevant, yeah.
And we're running. We got the short on time signal from
The grabby
Ted, so-
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll make this the last bit. My humble thanks go all to you for giving so much time to inspire and assist us listeners, and for making it excessively hard for me to avoid writing more than music. Kindest regards, Cluffy, the squeaky panther, who now comes in guitarists, bassets, and amateur writer models. Get yours
Just
today.
have to say parenthetically that his full name is Cluffy Folly.
Yeah, I didn't know Cluffy was a panther.
I didn't know either. I picture him as a collie.
That's good, because I thought that was totally the whole...
Fox collie mix.
I thought Cluffy Folly was a play on like Fluffy Collie.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Whatever, make up your mind, Cluffy. What the hell kind of animal are you?
hey, he was my 1,000th follower on Twitter, so
What the hell, Cluffy? No. Dear Kyell Gold and Cam Hirosaki, first, I would like to thank you all for the material you have put out over the years.
Hi.
I would like to thank you for all the material you have put out over the years.
You're welcome.
Flain welcomes you. I am a long-standing fan
your
and returning
business.
customer. Come back, Flain will give you a condom in more ways than one. This question is particularly
It's custom
directed
wrapped.
at Kyell, but I think it's a legitimate question for you both. Thanks. I'll be like sideline tacked onto to the question.
well,
I have noticed that in many of Kyell's stories, architectural elements and details are very meticulously described, waterways and pendant in particular. I may be a little extra sensitive to this, as I am an intern architect.
Ooh.
I am the architect. Don't be him.
wow.
But I have always
and his
appreciated...
name is so appropriate. Also,
I know, but I have always appreciated those details unique to each species' needs. We call this fergonomics. They usually have panels on it. Is there a reason that these elements are so important to you? Furthermore, do you believe that by creating basic solutions for the challenges that an anthropomorphic animal would deal with in daily life makes for a more believable setting/world? Yes. Thank you for the podcast. They make the days go quick while I toil endlessly in AutoCAD, Daedalus, which I
is
guess
an
means
awesome name for an architect.
yeah, also, like, for writing in about advice, like, you're just doomed to not ever have anyone listen to your warnings.
And nobody can get out of your buildings. But, we're
It's all walls!
I think
Well, Flain could get out.
yeah.
Hey, ceilings! Hey, I
always
have
forget
enough
the
trouble
ceilings.
with sky rises, alright?
That's because I'm a bird. Yeah, and I think this goes back to the previous letter where if you focus on if you give a little bit of the architectural detail of a world, then that gives people a sense of how the characters interact with it, which gives them a sense of the characters. And we always say that one of the critical things in a story that you have to gain with experience is figuring out how much detail and which detail to give the reader, because you have to give them the right details and exactly enough so that they have a complete picture of what's going on, but not so many details that they get bored and walk away. And so, I mean, for me, those details are interesting because I like thinking about, how would, simply because, we just like walk around and we don't like climbing, but we do retain some vestiges of our monkey ancestry because we love bunk beds. I love bunk beds as a
I
kid.
did too.
And,
I would always claim top bunk when I was in college.
Oh, yeah.
That's a vestige of our tree bunk beds. I question that one.
Yeah, of course.
Quiet,
Which
kid.
one of us has a microphone in front of him?
Oh, boom.
Where's the off button?
Oh. Well, welcome to Anthro
Are we actually
Podcast
recording
episode.
Ether Podcast will be hosting the lost episode of Unsheathed.
But
Wait, it's the other way around. No.
but foxes and weasels like burrows. We were never underground dwelling people, so
Right.
I mean, hell, if you come to California, you have a better chance of finding a snowstorm than finding a basement.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we do still have that climbing thing because we love to climb trees. We love to be, just get up high on things. I'm gonna
Look at
I'm gonna
kids.
stick to that.
When you take kids out places, they just want to climb on everything.
Yeah, they're little monkeys.
They just climb on shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is the thing lots of animals have. They like to be sort of up high because it's a position of strength and blah, blah, blah. But
Like other things, like not just the architecture, like things like clothing, like the whole like tail clasp on a pair of pants. If
Right.
you're a fox, you're not going to thread your tail through a hole in
no.
anything. Like your underwear, sure, because your underwear stretches, but like not a pair of jeans or a pair of slacks. Like you're going to need to just clasp it over that.
and actually, if you think about where the tail is, you could also just sort of not have to worry about having a hole in your pants for the tail. It could just sort of go down over the waistband.
Oh, good.
Sorry, you're talking about holes in Fox's pants, and it's just distracting me so much.
Yeah, this reminds me of the story I was told yesterday. But
Oh,
anyway, hopefully that
Yeah, hopefully that answers your
hopefully
question.
that answers the question. We'll get on to the last one. Dear Kyell, KM, and any guest you two may have lured into your clutches.
I don't think we lured Flain into our clutch. I think he broke in the front door.
Yeah.
Put me on your show!
I'm writing you once again to seek your more experienced advice on my writing efforts. For this email, I've chosen my current issue of Porn versus Plot. You see, I'm wanting to write a longer story, my average length being 6, that is both enjoyable, plot-driven, and capable of forcing someone to clean up their keyboard. The issue I'm having, however, is that I'm finding it difficult to write a story that has a plot beyond let's get naked and fuck, but still has a nice level of raunchy and lustful behavior.
We abbreviate that LAGNAF.
Yeah. To simplify the issue at hand, do you have any advice for writing a story that encompasses both plot and porn? From the literary fennec, Eli Lapso. Write a good story that involves a relationship.
Yes. Read many of our two people's stories. That tends to be our MO.
Yeah.
There's sex, but it's also a story. Even my Pizza Fox story, where it's basically delivery boy porn, has a plot to it. I
And
mean,
a relationship.
And a relationship.
I mean,
Spoiler.
if you're going to write like a murder mystery story, you're going to have a lot more trouble working sex into it. But most stories at their heart should involve a relationship between some of the
I don't know.
characters.
I have a murder mystery sex story. It's called The Fox and the Unspeakable Horror.
That's not a murder mystery sex story.
Yes, it is.
That's a Lovecraft pastiche parody.
But there's a murder mystery.
It's not a real mystery.
Shut up, it is. And I even resolved the mystery at the end.
I will write you a real murder mystery with porn in it.
Here it goes.
Go for it.
Oh, here it comes.
I welcome it.
Oh.
Have I? Which one did I write? Oh, well, Pendant of Fortune actually is a murder mystery too, with furry porn. And I have a Sherlock Holmes story,
But you can't read that.
but I'm apparently not allowed to read that.
That's not what I meant. I meant y'all listening, not you.
Oh. Well, no, I'm also not allowed to read that because I thought Holmes was public domain, but he's not.
It's just got a little laser coming out of the page.
There's the family of Conan Doyle, like sold the copyright to someone, but then they claim the person who sold it didn't have the right to sell it. So like it was a branch where there were brothers, and one of the brothers sold it, and the other people still have claim to it, but the people he sold it to also claim it, so it's tied up in court or
Yeah,
something.
but I mean, you have the story on your computer. That doesn't mean you're allowed to read it.
I know.
At what point does Sherlock Hound show up?
Not in my story.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Ooh. Rule 34, Sherlock Hound and Slylock Fox. Make it happen.
All right, find it. All right. I got the laptop.
Speaking of story challenges,
Yes. Oh. Plus one on that segue.
on our last episode, we read 2 stories, one of which was written by me, one of which was written by KM.
Yes.
We posted them online. People have guessed. And Flain, on his way here, was listening to the 2 stories. I believe that when we posted them, the one that was called A in the podcast is called 1 on FA, and the one that was called 1 is called A on FA. So I think they got swapped around. But the first one that was read on the podcast is the one that starts with the swizzle, swizzle, swizzle noise. And
the second one
is
the one with the cosmos.
the one that begins with Avalon.
Yes.
So Flain has a guess as to who wrote which.
Oh, here I go. I'm going to terribly munge this up. So let's see.
Well, it can't be worse than your Super Bowl prediction.
Oh, we still have time to get into it. The game itself, I predicted damn close. But yeah, I think...
Hey, who's the only one sitting here who predicted even one of the teams correctly?
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you. And they didn't win, which
How'd
I
the
didn't want them
Patriots
to.
do?
But I also didn't want Green Bay to win. Okay, we can't talk about that.
Hey, I'm hurting inside too.
Yeah, but he actually went out the day before the game on our live podcast and bragged about
Let's hear
how...
Flame's guess about those
Yeah.
stories.
Listen, you didn't have a girlfriend who was a massive Green Bay fan that you were giving shit for the entire day of just like, we're going to kick your ass. Oh God, this is murder! No!
So we have both been subjected to classical Greek hubris.
Yeah.
Then, you and I both.
Yes.
Okay,
right.
so my guess is I'm going to take my talents to the Miami Heat. No, my guesses are Swizzle is KM, Avalon is Kyell.
That
You
is
are correct.
Yeah! Who's the bomb? Who's the bomb? I'm the bomb. I'm the
So
bomb.
for those people who still who can't identify those stories, mine is the one with Danny and Justin, and the one where like the border collie has like an attention span problem.
Right, and mine is the one with Eric, and someone, and there's Cosmos, and he gets him the border collie always is trying to get him to try new things, and he gets him the Cosmo that's not quite right.
And the weirdest thing kind of led me one way to the other because I was just listening to the language itself.
Oh yeah,
and there's one word that I've heard you use that I haven't heard him use, or one word that Kyell uses that I have not heard KM use, and it's ain't. And one of the characters specifically says ain't, and I was like, okay, gotcha. I know which way this is going to go.
Because one of the commenters guessed that the use of the word slacks was what tipped him off.
I said slacks this episode.
Yeah, but you said he slacks off.
No. I was talking about
I know. I'm just teasing.
He said earlier, take off your slacks, Flain.
Yeah.
So I did a count a little bit earlier today, and I think on people guessed my story correctly, like 18-6.
Okay.
And people guessed your story correctly, 14-7.
So people just didn't bother to vote on my story as much. Thanks, everyone.
Apparently, and I didn't. Voted. There were a bunch of people guessing on the podcast journal itself, and I didn't count all those, but a lot of them seemed to be correct as well.
Right. Also, Eli Lapso, no, we didn't.
We did not both right.
We didn't
either of them.
How did that even work?
And also we were not trying to imitate each other's styles. It was funny, the audience that we had here, we mentioned, was split 50-50, although Not Tube later said that he would have guessed differently if he had not thought that we were trying to imitate each other's styles, which
kind of would kill the point of the exercise.
Yeah, we really kind of weren't. But
yeah.
Anyway, now you know. And
knowing is half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle. Keep an eye out for Anthropodcast coming soon. By which, if
Soon-ish
you
on our
record,
website and RSS feed near you.
if you record end of March, probably it'll be up in April.
Yeah, so we're still figuring it all out. I've got to go get supplies. You can probably find that we'll have to redirect web pages when it happens. The current catalog's still out there if you want to go check it out at anthropod.org. So you can check out, I think, the first something odd number of episodes. I've also still got the Clawcast back catalog, which I'll probably see if I can find a way to sneak that onto the new site, because
Cool.
people have been really clamoring to hear those again.
And let's see. Look for us at Furry Fiesta. Probably. Well,
We'll have
we'll
been
have
there.
already been there by the time this comes
Yeah,
out.
and I'll have already used Flain's Happy Condom.
So do not look for
when
us.
you
at-
use
well,
that, you have to think of me.
Oh, I can do that. That'll make sure I stay hard enough to get the job
Mm.
done.
Touch.
Kit and I will be up in Seattle at Emerald City Comic Con this coming weekend from when this is posted.
You can still use yours and think of me.
We will be, I don't think I'm allowed to. We will be at FogCon in San Francisco, a speculative fiction convention at the Golden Gate Holiday Inn, something on Van Ness. If you're local to the Bay Area and you want to meet some cool science fiction writers at a very small venue where I will probably not be very busy, come by and say hi. After FogCon, we are going out to FWA. I don't believe we're going to do a podcast there because Cam will not be able to join us. But
You could always get
Sad. But
some
I'm
of the
doing-
other fanfare like Donovan.
we are going to hang out with
you can
Donovan.
You do DonoCast.
I'm going to do
Unsheathed presents number whatever.
I'm going to do a bunch of panels. I've talked to Hux out there already. I don't know if you know Hux.
Oh yeah, I know Hux. Good guy. Good guy.
He's cool.
He's got a
He's
face.
been asking me actually for several years to come out to FWA and do some panels. So he was
I
very
love that
excited
con.
to.
Love that con.
And we're excited to go out there. It'll be actually my first time in Atlanta, not in Georgia, but my first time in Atlanta.
That con's my baby. I helped birth it, so you get to see the current
You were a
twisted,
midwife.
the twisted being it has become.
I'm very excited to go to the world of Coke.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, all right. Go to the world of Coke, and they have this joke here the entire time, but you have to try Beverly.
No, I've tried it.
Okay.
I've tried it in the pavilion at Epcot.
Okay, yeah.
That's the one that tastes horrible.
Oh God, it's awesome.
Yes.
It's the greatest. It's like any time you go to a foreign country and they're just like, here, have this. It's good. And you eat it and you're just like, balls. And everybody just starts laughing.
Yeah. No. Our
It's like
our
Rocky
friends
Mountain
down
oysters. Try them.
Our friends down in Florida were like that. They were like, you have to go to the Coke Pavilion at Epcot and you have to try this drink. And then they would all like be watching really intently to see the face you made. So then I always take that as a challenge where I'm like, okay, not going to change my expression no matter how it tastes. And I'm like, that was interesting.
Funny enough, it seems weaker now to me. Anytime that I've went.
Yeah.
There was one of my friends had this. It was grappa, which is like super strong, like liquor that's made from like a grape skin or something. But like it's like over 100 proof. It's like varnish, but like it's one of the things you can enjoy in small amounts. But like this was like grappa that wasn't even clear. It was like yellow. And like one of my friends was like, I'm trying to get rid of this bottle, and he's like, if you want some, have some, go ahead. He's like, it's terrible.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so I pour myself some, and I take a sip, and I'm like, oh come on, that wasn't that, but aftertaste. It was like you fermented a bouquet of potpourri. It was terrible.
Anyway, I'm
yeah.
hoping to go to the world of Coke and maybe talk them into a little sponsorship from Coke Zero. You know. So anyway, that's FWA.
I'll have to. If you got time, I'll point you to some other great places.
Oh yeah.
to go.
We'll definitely we'll have to sit down for that.
Yeah.
The weekend after that, we're going to be in New York, where we will announce a
New
venue
York
when
City.
we have it. And weekend after that, we will be back in San Francisco for WonderCon.
Which I'll probably be at.
We have a badge for you, so you better be there.
Oh, you do have a badge for me?
Yep.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize you had got me one.
Well, we just kind of did it and didn't tell you, so.
Oh, yay.
Have Kevin Smith sit in during the
and,
panel, see how that goes.
And then Comic-Con is on our schedule, and then I'm going to be a guest of honor at Rocky Mountain FurCon. which I think I announced on the show already.
Yep.
But
That puts you in the same echelon as Alan Dean Foster.
yay! Woo me!
You now officially have at least one more above me.
I still have
on the
to
guest
pay
of honor
for all
list.
my
Damn
conventions.
you!
I'm sorry. Yeah, me and Rukus are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's it. So
That's a show.
that's our. Write to us at unsheathedpodcast@gmail.com.
Send in condoms.
If you want to know where to get the Flain endorsed condoms,
Oh God, they're the best
Write to
ones.
him.
My favorite.
where can they write to you? At?
One Pleasure Dome condoms. You can get them online.
No. Where can they write to you?
Write to me to get them. I'm on F list. No. You could write to me. Just hey,
Or for other questions.
Oh, okay, damn. You can. You could go ahead, find me on Twitter. I am Flaintastic.
You are. But what's your Twitter name?
Twitter name is Flaintastic.
Oh, all right.
Flaintastic.
Yeah, there you go. I could have chose Flain, but what fun would that be? Which is unfortunately my name on FA. Just find me as Flain, Flain. It sounds like plane with an F at the beginning.
Like, you know how like everyone's doing these like after dark Twitter accounts now,
And plain,
which I don't
like-
quite get. You should totally use Flaingasm for yours.
Plain, we should point out that it's
had
like
one.
plain like fruited planes, not plain like airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, how boring would it be to have your Twitter name be just your name? Like,
Yeah,
if
I
my
know.
Twitter name was just Kyell Gold, or my LJ name was just Kyell Gold, or my FA name is just Kyell.
Kid's gonna kill us. I'm Cam Hirosaki and all three of those. Good night.
Write to us at unsheathedpodcast@gmail.com.
You said that.
Goodbye and good writing. Keep writing.
Good night.
That's the end of the show. Bye.